I'm working on an intergenerational project for different pieces of the population to come and live together, having the space to have a community garden where elders can teach younger generations, pass on that knowledge.
Hello and welcome to the Regenerative Design Podcast. I'm your host, Mathieu Mehuis, and in this show, I interview the leading authorities in the world of regenerative practices. People who do good and do well. Are you a person that cares about your environment and our planet? Are you a person that wants to leave the planet to our children to be something that we can be truly proud of? Something to enjoy for many generations to come. But are you also a person that believes we can do all of this and do good in business? Well, I have really good news for you. You're here listening to the podcast that is all about making our planet a better place and making your business more successful. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the Regenerative Design Podcast with your host Mathieu Mehuis. Today we have another amazing guest. Her name is Jennifer Dechaine, and Jennifer has over 2 decades of experience as a sales and leadership expert in residential and multifamily construction. And she's currently done a bit of a career shift. She's shifting gears to the 5th gear, that she has currently embarked on a new career shift to actually found her real estate development company called Urban Bricks, which has a big focus on sustainability and community creation, mostly through densification. So Jennifer, I'm super excited to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Nice. So let's dive right in. Would love to know from you, were you born as a real estate developer or agent? Were you 3 years old as a baby saying, I'm going to be building homes and doing all that?
No, not at all. I was born in small town Saskatchewan, and my dad is an educator. And so education has been a central theme in my life. It always pulls me back in. So my dad was a teacher, and then he was leader in education. And so dad kind of moved us all around small town Alberta. And my mom, both my parents were actually raised on farms. And my mom was organic before organic was cool. We had, we were raised most of my life from the age of I would say 5 until I was 14 on this acreage where mom had a 1 acre garden. And we grew all of our own produce. We also, mom bought wheat from farmers and ground for her own bread. If you've ever had it, it's it weighs like a slice of bread weighs a pound, a full whole wheat loaf. It's super dark, but I think back to my childhood. Wow, that was we didn't appreciate it at the time. We wanted store-bought processed things because those were so cool. And I look back now and I think, man, we were so lucky. She bought milk from the farmers and we made butter. What else did we do? We had our own chickens that we slaughtered. So we had organic meat, organic vegetables, and everything was made from scratch. And my siblings and I are so healthy. We've just been so blessed with great health our whole lives. And I'm like, Mom, I think you might have had something to do with that in all our formative years being raised on organic. That's
so cool because it's becoming very popular now. People want to homestead, they want to live off the land. I get a lot of people ask me, hey, can you help me set up my farmstead? They might have digital jobs or something, or they're working remotely, and then they're like, oh, I want to produce my own food because I don't trust what's happening with most of the food that's being produced. So very cool that you experienced that on such a young age. And at the same time, you were this you fell into education pretty much, and only later you came into real estate. So tell me a bit more about how you got into real estate then.
Yeah, so I was actually finishing my education degree, and my last year, my family, my husband and my 2 young children, we moved to a larger market, and I went to a brand new show home and I was looking at buying this new home. And the guy said to me, like, you are a sharp cookie. You should come work for me. And I was at the time I was thinking like I don't really know what any of this is about, and I don't really know what I'm doing. So I would love to learn more about it, because then I'm going to learn how to have my house be amazing. And so I started working part time. And so then after that, it's kind of a weird timeline because I finished my education degree. The teachers were all on strike. There was no job. So I got offered this job in real estate. So I thought, well, I'll do this for a little bit. And then I got a teaching job, and then I was like, well, I can do them both for a little bit. And I did that for 2 years. And
with two kids as well.
Yeah, I had 2 young kids, and I worked a lot. But that's a whole other story about my learnings from, hustling it out there. But nonetheless, I ended
My
up
mom
leaving
did the same.
teaching.
She was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like 4 kids and living on a farm, but she had her own business, and we got to do everything, like soccer's on the weekend. She was driving us around like crazy. She even says like, I have no clue how I've ever done that. Like she now has 2 grandchildren from my brother, and she's like, this is already too much. I have no clue how I ever did it with 4 kids.
Right. Like, but she had this like superhuman strength and resolve to like make it all happen for her family. And I feel the same way. I don't really know how I did that, but I did. And I was just so focused. Yeah, totally. So that's kind of how I got into selling. And then, I sold new homes for 13 years and I loved it. I loved it a lot.
What did you like the most in those 13 years about working in sales and real estate?
So 2 things. I love the fact that everyone coming to see me had a dream that the place of shelter that they would provide for their families would change their lives. It would change how they interacted with each other. It would change, whether or not their kids would stay and be happy as young adults, or they were building it with purpose. And they had this vision and this dream. And I, in a small way, got to help them make that vision and that dream come to life. Because a lot of times, well, almost every time, when you're going to go get a different house, something has changed in your family. And it's not always happy change. Like happy change is, new households forming, somebody getting married, somebody having a baby. But sometimes there's death, there's divorce, and there's people that are really sad and that are going through loss and grief and change, and they need to change their shelter. Their shelter needs have changed. And so that, being able to help people through that piece of their journey and help them get to the next step, it was so rewarding. And then the second piece is really creating community. I remember the first time that I went back to a community where there was this cul-de-sac in Spruce Grove, Alberta, and I sold every house on the street. And it was like 2 years later and everybody moved in and they did their landscaping, and there was kids driving down the cul-de-sac on their bikes, and there was guys out and they're like, their garage doors are open and they're power washing their driveways and they're having a beer and they're visiting with each other.
That's amazing.
And it was the most rewarding thing. Like my heart just like swelled and grew like 3 sizes that day. And I was like, I helped to make that community happen, and I was hooked. And real estate has just never let me go because it's more powerful than one house and one family. The creation of community is so rewarding and beautiful.
Wow.
And those are the 2 reasons why I do it.
That's amazing. I never thought as much about like, okay, when you're a real estate sales agent, maybe because a lot of people have rather skeptical thoughts about real estate agents. I don't know if that's a thing in Canada, maybe in Europe that is. But by your expertise and what you just explained, like your ability to actually create communities, and obviously there's other people involved, the builders, the construction companies, but you are like pretty much matching and creating those communities, which is incredible, and what a noble thing to do in a way. Yeah, so congratulations on doing that.
Yeah.
So That
Thank you.
was your
Like,
real estate bug. That's where it all
yeah.
mattered.
And don't get me wrong, like we're compensated very well for
Hmm.
it. We don't do it for free, but the reward of, the fiscal and the monetary reward, along with, depending on how you're motivated, right? I'm internally motivated, intrinsically motivated. So like it's not just about extrinsic reward, it's also about, you know, things that make me feel really good. And that's, I think, the piece about sales that maybe is a misconception, right?
Hmm.
It's like it's all about getting the sale and moving on.
Hmm.
But the truth is, salespeople that are both motivated intrinsically, where they really want to do a good job and serve and provide solutions and help people solve their problems,
Hmm.
that's the piece that is really rewarding about sales. And you and I, both as consultants and with our consultancy businesses, every consultant is also works in sales.
Hmm.
And that's the piece where we're out here saying to people, we've got this amazing solution because we believe in it. We know we can change your life and we want to help.
Hmm.
And that's the sales bit, that once you sell something you believe in and you see its power to change people's lives,
Hmm.
you just sales isn't a weird thing anymore. It's not one of those, professions that sometimes has a bad reputation, the used car salespeople or whatever it is that is out there. When you look at, your ability to change people's life with a solution that you are uniquely positioned to share, like that's the beautiful thing about sales, and it's not
Hmm.
to be feared.
No, I agree with you, and it just reminded me of a metaphor. Like sales, in a way, it's neither good or bad. Like in a general scope, it's the way you use it and the way you're standing up for your clients. Like I see it, it's just like a knife. A knife you can use to cook an amazing meal, or you can use it to kill someone. Like that's what sales can be. Like there's obviously a lot of charlatans and people that are just after the money, and they themselves have really miserable lives, because if you just sell for the sake of selling, I
Mm-hmm.
can assure you when you come home, you're going to feel really bad. Um, and that's what we learn in our trainings. Like these are the people that get into drugs and do all bad things to compensate with doing something that is not authentic and not in their true power. Whereas on the other side, where you're like, okay, I'm going to stand up for my clients and I'm going to enroll them, because when I enroll them and they pay me, I'm going to change their life like you do. We're going to either build an amazing home or community for them, or for me it's same or similar, like creating an amazing environment that is going to have a huge impact on their life, on their health. So that's what sales is really about. It's like it's the engine of a business. Like people often, like I coach a few people in starting their businesses, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm not so much into sales. I'll yeah, I don't want to do much sales. There's like, but if you're a one-man show in the beginning, you have to do sales. Like if you're not into sales, you're not into business. It's a hobby. Then call
Absolutely.
it a hobby, and that's fine. But you need to learn how to sell, and how to sell from your heart. So tell me a bit more, because that's um, what your other business is about, and help me out with the name again, where you actually want to educate people how to sell with the heart forward. That's your method that you talk about, right? Heart forward. Tell me more
Yeah,
about that.
absolutely. So that business is called Congruent Projects. And Congruent Projects is very heart forward sales leadership. And the place that it comes from is a place of just love for the psychology and the art of the sale, as well as for the people engaging in sales. Sales is really like stressful. It's variable compensation. It's unrealistic goals. It's pressure because it is the revenue generator of the businesses and they don't succeed without it. And so there's so much pressure and stress in sales, especially in real estate sales.
Hmm.
Um, my specialization, I'm not a real estate agent. Mine comes from, residential development and selling direct for the developer. I'm
Mm.
leading teams that sell directly for the developer, but much of my work is very directly applicable to real estate agents and brokers and things like that, because they have the same challenges that we do, which is success at the cost of your health, your relationships, your life, is not success. And a lot of times, success indeed does cost you that. And I am really, wellness forward in terms of, tons of training out there about hard skills, right? Hard skills is closing, negotiation, prospecting, CRM, follow up, all that jazz. And everybody teaches that. But there's soft skills that are involved in selling. And you as a consultant know that a growth mindset, confidence, humility, resilience, becoming rejection proof, and not letting it bother you that when you get rejected. Those are all soft skills. Oh. And when you look in the business environment today, everyone's like, yeah, you got to have a growth mindset. You need to be resilient. Have you ever seen any education on how to do that?
How to actually do that. It's easy said, right?
Yeah, like everyone's like, you should do that. And a lot of times when people hire their salespeople, they're like, oh, well, we just assume that you are confident, that you got a growth mindset, that you know how to be humble, you're not arrogant, you're going to constantly stay positive and optimistic. You can get kicked in the teeth and you'll be rejection proof. But nobody teaches them how to do that. And I think there's a huge gap in the education piece of this, which is we need to educate people on these soft skills in business and for life. I don't teach stuff where I'm like, use this in your business life. I'm like, no, use this in your life and it will improve your business. So I teach it backwards, where people are like, I want you to learn this for your business. I don't want you to learn it for your business. I want you to learn it for you. I want you to be able to ask for what you want. And then when people say no, that you're like, I'm okay. This is not a measure of my worthiness. It is not a measure of my competence. It's just a measure of I'm not a good fit. So let's move on. Let's not take this personally. Let's just move on from here.
Yeah, that's a tough one too. When you're starting out your business, you have to get used to being rejected and not taking it personally.
Exactly. And so what happens a lot of times is people don't like rejection. Rejection is terrible. And so they just step back and become smaller, and they don't ask for the things that they really, really want. And I mean, the only reason I'm an expert in this is because I sold for 13 years and I led for 10 years, and I still struggle with it. I'm not perfect, but that whole piece is really, and then it's about aligning salespeople with the mission. So you might have corporate goals and corporate strategies and corporate values, but if your salespeople are not aligned and everybody doesn't win together, it makes it really difficult. So these are really, it's a nuanced education system that's all about alignment, congruence, thus the name, and really winning, but winning in the way that everybody wins together and they win well.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that. Could you give both for myself and the listeners here like a little nugget, something that you could even apply immediately, just to see what it's like to actually be fully in heart-centered alignment when you're doing sales?
Well, I think that, when you're heart-centered in your sales, you are fearless, because it's not that you're trying to sell to somebody. You're not trying to do something to them. You're working for them, and you're working for that mission. And truly, when you are selling a solution to someone that you truly believe in, you are fearless, because you're out in the world and you're not like, can you buy my product? You're like, are you the person that I'm looking for to share my life's work with you, to change your life, right? You're not looking to be like, I need you to give me $25,000 for this consulting package. You're like, are you the person that together we're going to change your life? And so when you're selling like that, it's so powerful, because you're just out there sharing your genius with the world, and the world needs it, right? The world needs you. And I mean, when you get into alignment like that, with your mission. And even if you're not, it's not your own company, but you have a corporation where it's like, here's the values, here's the goals, and you find a way to align your winning together, you truly, the magic happens. And it feels like magic. It feels like adrenaline. It feels like all of the things, the energy that I'm giving you today. This is like, my body starts to physiologically respond when I talk to you about this, because I love it so much. I'm so passionate about it. And I know that passion, somebody needs to hear it today. I don't know who. Somebody does. And when you do that, Matthew, it's magic, and you're just living in your purpose, and you are fully alive. That's just it. It's everything.
That's so cool, because then we're also talking about energy, right? There's this thing, we are both in a group, a business class group, and like half of the work that we have to, at least for me, it's very important to stand in my power energy and to really radiate and talk to like-minded people and also enjoy life, do other things. Because when your energy is up and then you start reaching out to people, I can assure you they will react differently. Whereas if you're like, oh, hey, I'm doing this program, or I'm selling this house, maybe are you interested? Like, that's not going to work. So you need to like show up in your full power and superhero kind of. So that's exactly what you're doing, and you can only do it in things that are in alignment with yourself. You can't fake it. Like you have to find something in your own life that you truly and really believe in, and that excites you, like that gives you, like you wake up in the morning like, oh, I can't wait to start doing that.
Yes
That's what you have to sell.
Can I share with you some of my energy strategies?
Oh yeah, let's dive into that. I love it.
So like for me, it's an interesting story about energy. So in Edmonton, where I live, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, our real estate cycle, like our market cycle, is about 7 years. And it goes from like really high to really low. And it's, at the bottom is just crushing. You might not sell a house for 6 months. And at the top, you might sell 6 houses this week. And so you really have to manage your energy well. And I remember in 2000, and it was around 2007, and we were just going through like the whole, all North America was going through a real reset in the market. And I just remember every day dreading to get out of bed because there was really no end in sight. And I remember living like this, and I was like, is this my life? Like every day I'm dreading this. And I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. And I decided to intentionally change my energy. And instead of getting out of bed and being like, what can go wrong today? I decided that I was going to get out of bed and say, whatever happens today, I got it. I can figure it out. Between me, my network, my organization, I have got it. Yeah. And at the start, it's like learning a new habit, right? Working out at the gym if you haven't gone. And you're like, oh, this is hard work. Let's keep going. And now people look at me and are like, Jennifer, you're so positive. You're so bubbly. You have so much energy. And it started with the mindful creation of a habit where now I wake up and I'm like, oh my goodness, like what are we going to get into today? And this is going to be fun. And I get up and I do it. And so there's two ways, like as a salesperson, you always have to be on. And everybody has a bad day. They didn't sleep last night. They got something going on. And you can do, you can turn it on like a light switch. And I can to this day. Like if I could have been having a horrible day today and having, all these challenges, and I would have turned it on and been like, here you go. But that would have been like an energy that will draw from my body and it will take from my body. And it's a draining sort of energy. I call it kind of like my cortisol energy, where I turn something on and I'm draining my battery to do it, right? To give that energy. But the better way to do it is to really train your mind to jump out of bed and be like, let's go find what the world has in store for us, and look at it like, my girlfriend, Amy, says life is like a video game. It just gets harder. As soon as you beat the boss and the big challenge at the end, you level up and it gets harder and harder. And I love that concept because now we start to embrace the challenges. We're like, well, clearly we're equipped to deal with it. Let's go figure this one out. Like, we haven't done this before. Let's go get it. And when you look at it like that and you're really in alignment where you are not afraid of the challenges, you're like, this is life, and the bigger problems I solve, the more skills that I have to do this stuff, and I'm not afraid. I invite it. I'm not inviting bad energy from the universe, but I'm just saying to the universe, hey, I got this. I'll figure it out. And when you do that, now we're like a regenerative energy, where the energy that I give to you in this conversation today, I will be rejuvenated the rest of the day, and all day I'll just be like, oh my gosh, like I went and I got my battery charged on this conversation with Mathieu. I didn't turn it on and it drained me. I had this fulfilling, authentic conversation, and it has recharged my battery, and I will go out to the world and I'll go get it today. Does that make sense? On the different
a lot of sense. I love that. And I what I want to like make clear for our listeners here is like, you have to train it. Just like if you think like, oh, I'll just see and wake up and then start my day. No, you have to like be very intentional about it. Like what I often do, and I did it today, is like the night before I write down what I will do the next day, and I write it in the present tense, which is like it has already happened. And I heard there's some magic when you then go to sleep, your brain already starts to sort out how you'll do it. And I wrote down some bold goals of something that I'm creating for farmers and landowners to invest in farmland. And I created the whole thing today, like the whole program. And it's like in the past you would take like months, and I just did it in a few hours. And now I'm ready to present it to a bunch of people. And I think it's because I intentionally said it the day before. And like you have to train your mind even before you fall asleep. I say I'm thankful for the day. It was an amazing day. Like yesterday, I went spearfishing here on the island. This is like my new hobby is to go spearfishing here, which is amazing. Like you're in the water. I love water.
You're in Portugal right now, right?
Yes, I'm living in the Azores now. So it's beautiful islands, beautiful farming, lots of opportunities, even in real estate. And so, yeah, I had an amazing day. I still did some work as well. And then, so before I sleep, I kind of go through my day and be thankful. And then that already sets you up. When you wake up, this is your first thought going to be like, oh, I had an amazing day. Let's make another amazing day today. And that sets you up. Like a lot of people, the first thing they might do in the morning is open their phone and go on social media and scroll through all the things that they don't have or that are going on badly in the world. I can assure you, when you do that, your day is already lost. Like the first couple minutes or hour in your day is very important. Like even on my phone, I have a application that doesn't allow me to go on social media until like 10 a.m. I use it for my business. It's called Opal, OPAL.
Yeah.
So I can manage like which apps I can use in certain times, because it's very addictive, and like before you know, you're scrolling on it, right? So Absolutely. That app helps me. Like I can't open it. If I want to, I have to like find some codes and wait a bunch of time. So you don't bother for it. Because I caught myself often, like when I feel stressed or something's not working, you go in your phone and you start scrolling to get some dopamine. But it's like it's short-lived and it doesn't help you solve those problems. So again, being very intentional and be aware of what you do and the habits you create is very important. And only take like small steps, small things. That's why this practice you do in the evening or in the morning, that's a baby step, and everyone can do it. And you'll see how it changes.
Well, Mathieu, like that totally like brings me to, the conversation of what it is that you do, because, I was raised on an acreage. My family was farmers, and it's like you want to grow up and you want to move to the city and you want to work in business and you want to do all this stuff. And I got to be honest, I was the vice president of sales at a integrated developer. Like I broke the glass ceiling. I did all these things, and I got there and I'm like, wait a minute, what are the things that are really valuable to me and important to me? And what are the things that make me feel great about my life? And you start going back into your life and you're like, wow, those nature walks in Edmonton. If you ever got here, we have the most beautiful river valley.
Wow.
It runs through the city. There's trails everywhere you go down. There's canopies over the trails. It's so gorgeous. We're famous for it. I used to live, I don't right now, but I used to live just a few steps away from it. And you go in there and you're like that slice of nature where you have that space to just decompress and be in nature and, go to the farmer's market and really enjoy, all the simple pleasures that I had as a child. And I just think, the magic isn't in our technology, and the magic and the wellness is not being digitally connected to people. Although I have to tell you that this conversation kind of feels magical today, even though we're having it over technology. But
It's a tool. It's just a tool.
It's a tool. The real magic is in our connection with nature, our connection to the earth, our connection to each other. And that's where the magic and the community and that's where the serotonin, I believe, lives. And I think that's what's so beautiful and important about your work is you're reconnecting us to things that were taken for granted and maybe not considered as super important maybe at the time. And now that we've moved away from it and we're urban dwellers and we get our food in a grocery store and we don't know where it came from, and we spend all our time encased in concrete and glass and glued to our devices, that's not making us happy. It's not making us healthier. And I don't believe that that's the path forward, which is, why I think your work is just so special.
This podcast is brought to you by the Garden of Your Dreams Masterclass. Are you struggling with finding the right tools and tricks for your garden? Are you lacking the confidence to be a self-sufficient gardener? Do you sometimes get overwhelmed by the lack of knowledge and time you have to actually do gardening? Then the Garden of Your Dreams Masterclass is for you. And I think that's where your work and my work really bridge, because I like to believe that whatever happened throughout your life, it all happens for a reason, being a good thing and bad thing. And I look at your life, you're like growing up with a mother that was a lot into gardening and farming. Both your parents lived on a farm. Your father was an educator, and then you added something around sales and community development and all these things. I see that there's a huge opportunity to bring everything home and to make developments that have all of these aspects: education, gardening, farming, nature experiences, and obviously real estate, because we need shelter. It's I wrote it down. I think it's the 3 basic needs, if I'm not mistaken, is food, shelter, and water. So food is agriculture, shelter is real estate, water, this is also something. Canada has enough water for now. But yeah, so food and shelter, and then obviously we came from nature, we got disconnected, just like you said, and it's time to return back to it. And in order for us to return back to it, we don't have to go live in a cave again or become like a hippie on a land, even though there's nothing wrong with that. If that's your path, go for it. But we can have all the luxuries and all the tools and the technology that we have today, because it is very, very helpful. Again, it's like the way you use it. If you use social media as like a distraction thing, well, then it's going to be bad for you. But if you use it as a way to connect with the community, to post content that inspires other people to take action, that's a whole different thing. So my question is, how do you see in your future and in your business that you can combine all these aspects and bring it home, like I said?
So, okay. I don't know if this is actually an answer to your question. I might be going on a segue here, but just take me back. Bring me back if I'm out in left field. When we first had a conversation and you were talking about, your business, I was kind of like, I don't really know what he does, and I don't really know why he wants to talk to me, and I don't really understand, but I'm a curious person, so I'm like, let's find out. And let's see what this is about. So, we started talking about our development sites. And my experience here is landscaping is something you do a last minute. You throw on the topsoil, you roll out the sod, you plant some trees and shrubs, and voila, it looks like a completed project. It happened in the last minute because probably we were trying to do a big open house and we needed everything done. And we were doing a big community open house and everything kind of is last minute. So when you said to me, we were talking about a redevelopment project in Edmonton where we were going to take this one single home and we were going to demolish it, abate it, and then build a multiplex, multifamily property on top of it. And you're like, Jen, the microorganisms and the way you strip the soil and you don't want to lose your microorganisms. I was like, wait, what? What is he even talking about? Where you were like, no, like you can conserve your microorganisms. And then you were talking about like, like organic and native plants and how it's not going to cost, it's just be really mindful about the environment and the nature. And when you first started talking like that, I was like, okay, I have never, ever experienced something like this in a conversation in my over 2 decades of integrated development.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
It's not a good thing. Because what happens is a lot of times, when something is an afterthought, just like we talked about our disconnection from nature, and it becomes an afterthought, it's not the integral piece. And so for me, I'm looking at it saying, wow, this is something that we have completely overlooked. And this is something that we can look on with fresh eyes, with different eyes, where we look at it and say, how can we do better? How can we really reconnect to nature with things that, when we first talked, you're like, Jen, I can do all these things. And would it be like a market difference? Maybe not. Like it wouldn't appear a marked difference, but it would be, and we wouldn't even have known. And so to be mindful about reconnecting with nature and do it intentionally versus something where you just assume it's an afterthought. This is how we do it. Quick, do that. It blew like, I was just like, like what, this is crazy and so wonderful. And so when I look at it, like I look at, community building and sustainability, and I think nature and our disconnection from it has such amazing ability to bring us into community. So you and I talked about, I think you're working on maybe a really cool housing project that's got really cool nature elements that you could talk to, but I'm working on an intergenerational project for, different pieces of the population to come and live together. But our critical piece of that is really about having the space to have a community garden where where elders can teach, they can garden and they can teach younger generations on how to do this kind of stuff and pass on that knowledge, because I feel like a lot of that the knowledge is being lost in our urban centers. And with our trend towards urbanization in many developed and developing countries, this is deep expertise that needs to be valued, and it needs to be taught, and it needs to be passed on. And so a community garden is a place where everybody can work together, and you lose your age and you lose your, all of those things, and you just have commonalities. And when we can do that together, I think it's just so absolutely beautiful. And so I look at that as such a crazy, cool opportunity with our critical pieces, where we give the ability to not only work in it, but experience it. I mean, I don't know, like how you feel about flowers. but I love them. I
Yeah.
love them. They make me happy. They
Oh
make
yeah.
me smile. They give me joy. And that's nature giving
Mm.
me gifts every single day. And so, having community gardens filled with both vegetables and flowers and things like that, I mean, wow, this is everything.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with you, and I want to stack on that in the sense of like it as a conventional way of developing building. It might be an afterthought, but some developers have put value onto creating some unique landscapes and natural environments connected to their development, being either private or semi-public, or even completely public if it's together with the city or with a municipality. And what they found out that it has a huge impact on the valuation of the properties, especially after people buy it, because in the beginning a landscape, it needs time to grow, right? So
Yeah.
if you're buying a house that has a well designed outdoor space
Yeah.
and has a lot of variety of different plants, not just a tree and some grass, then over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, your property is going to increase way more in value than the ones that have like just those basic landscaping, grass and a tree and maybe some shrubs.
Absolutely.
And
Can I tell you
oh yeah.
yeah. Well, I was going to say, can I tell you a story? I have some lived experience with this. Um, I worked in a community. It was called the Hills at Charlesworth, and it actually won an international award
Yeah, I
where
remember
it
you told me
had
that's
this,
beautiful.
yeah, this beautiful green space. It was kind of like a plaza area, and it had like a skating loop, and it had community gardens, and it had little kid playground and big kid playground, and it had all this cool stuff in it, and it was really built on sustainability. And like, even they had this beautiful water collection system for the rain that would water the community garden. And they were just so mindful about the plaza area. And when we first started selling the community, everyone would come in and be like, it's more expensive, I don't want to pay, I'm not going to do it. And we would fight with clients. Like, the houses were beautiful, but the green space was so gorgeous,
Mhm.
and it was so different. And at the start, we had a terrible time selling that community. Fast forward like 3-4 years, now we're starting to get to the end of the Hills at Charlesworth. I think it took us about eight years to finish it out.
Mhm.
And it was a company that I worked for. They were the developer, and we also had a home building company that I worked on. And about halfway through, it just switched. And people came in and said, I know that in order to live here, I have to pay more money, and I'm okay with it. Because this is the place I want to live. I want my kids to be able to walk down to the plaza. I want to see if I can get a spot in the community garden. The community garden was like snapped up within like the first year. I want to say all the plots were spoken for and everything. And it was such a hot community feature. But halfway through, it just flipped over, and people were like, I get it. I have to pay more money. This community is just more valuable, and it is valuable. And that plaza area, with its unique amenities and the gorgeous green space, and it had a frisbee golf, that was a huge factor in what made that community so special. And then, of course, it wins an international award and validates the concept. And so I really feel like, we're having this conversation today where I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, I'm not saying it today because I'm educated about microorganisms like that much. But I really feel like the concept of leaning into nature and amenities and reconnecting with that is, the market is there. The concept's been proven out, and the developers that are creating these community spaces, this is all about opportunity to differentiate their communities by really giving people really cool spaces to create that community.
Yeah, it's a great example, and love what you said there. And I think also just in general, the investment for creating a green space can actually be marginal compared to what the value will actually bring. Like, and even that's what I discussed with you and your partner Mike. That okay, in a lot of construction projects, first thing they do is they bulldoze the whole land, and they
Yeah.
remove the topsoil, and they get trucks to come in and remove
Yeah.
that, and then
Yeah.
at the end of the project, new trucks with new soil come in, and they say that it's better soil or topsoil, but
Yeah.
you've actually removed it from the beginning. And so,
Yeah.
can we find solutions where we actually are way smarter with the resources, so it's truly sustainable and regenerative? Because end of the day, when it doesn't reduce cost, and when it at least, or well, it has to be either or, when it's not a cost reduction item, or it doesn't create more value for a development, it's not truly regenerative. It's just like, it may be sustainable, or could think that it's ethical to do certain things, but it has to be monetizable. Otherwise, you won't get it done by goodwill alone. Like, you need to be able to monetize on it.
Right.
So yeah, being more resourceful with materials, and coming up with smart design solutions, that's where you truly can make the difference.
It is. And you know what, Matthew? Like, people want to hear beautiful stories, and marketing is essentially storytelling.
Oh yeah.
And the work that you do has such a beautiful and interesting story. And I really feel like there's so much opportunity in the development community in North America for to tell a different story about connecting with nature in a different way when we
Hmm.
develop communities. Um, I just know, like, your the work that you do and the services that you provide, it feels to me like a little bit of nature magic, and it's a beautiful story, and stories are monetizable.
Nice.
That's what marketing is. And if you tell that story, you're not looking for everyone, but you are looking for the people that that resonates with.
Mm.
And there's more people that it resonates with than I think we would initially think, because landscaping is generally commoditized, right?
Mm.
Trees, shrubs, sod, wood chips, rocks. It really doesn't matter where it comes from, right? It's just all about what's the best price for what I can do here.
Mm.
So finding different ways of creating value in a commoditized market, that's the magic of
Mm.
marketing, and that's the really cool part about differentiation. And I believe that the piece of your industry that you work in is just ripe for disruption in terms
Wow.
of storytelling.
I
Does
love
that
it. I just had an amazing light bulb moment, like the way you explained it, with that more, let's say, my competitors are mostly commoditizing their work, which is fine, it works, but it's not like the next thing, right? Whereas if we can diversify and create and tell an amazing story, and that's where I think you'll come in very handy, and some we'll talk more about it offline, but something that we can cook together, an amazing meal, and use the knife for cooking, uh,
Yes.
to create something unique. I think, there's a lot of expertise that you have that I don't have in like 2 decades in development. That's amazing. There's very few people that have that, at the same time being like heart centered, purpose driven, and wanting to do and wanting to have an impact for people and communities, and adding that you're interested, or that you're using sustainability as a guideline. This is like, yeah, that's gonna give fireworks. I'm 100% sure. It's already giving fireworks. So I'm excited
Amazing.
about the future. So we're gonna be wrapping up the interview very soon, but I still have a question for you. Like, let's look into the future for you personally. What are you most excited about for the next 10 years? Like, what is like this next 10 years? This is what I'm gonna do, and this is how my life will look.
Um, what am I most excited for? Well, I think that as I continue to work to align with my gifts and my purpose, I think I have never really dreamed big enough. And so for me, I hesitate to be like, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be there, because I think if I say that, I already know I'm going to do it. And so I look at my ability to make an impact where impact is my motivation. I know that there are people in the world that need to hear my message, and they need to know that it's okay to be a human, and it's okay to be a salesperson, and nobody has to be infallible, and it's okay for us to, to reconnect with nature, and let's find joy in all of this. And so when I look at where I'm going to be in 10 years, I don't know. I love to travel. My mom is just my best friend, and she is everything to me. And she has been such a faithful servant of her family. She has just served. There's 7 kids, and she had a big family, and she has just been such a faithful servant. And I just want to give her the opportunities and experiences that she really would never dream of. And so for me, what motivates me is, I took my mom to Paris, and she'd never been to Europe.
Wow.
And
So
the
cool.
experience of seeing my mom in those beautiful cathedrals and in the flower market, that was everything to me. So for me, the next 10 years is really about having amazing adventures with my mother and watching her just light up like the eye, like with the childlike wonder. And of course I have my children, and they're finding their way, and I just aligning, there's a lot of alignment with their businesses and my businesses, and I hope to work with them. And I just hope that the people that need me, I can work with them, they find me, maybe even through this podcast, and we find a way to impact their lives in a really positive way.
I love that.
I mean, I didn't really commit to any hard goals, but
No,
I,
it's a
I
look
just
out
want
to
to,
the next 10 year.
yeah, I just want
It's
to do
very
my
cool.
part in
Family
making a difference.
first,
What's
and
that?
then other. I said family first. That's something we say in our family.
Yeah,
Like, take time with your family, enjoy that, and
yeah,
change people's lives. That's what you're doing, and you're gonna keep doing. So, as you said, like people who are listening, if they like, I want to learn how to sell with a heart-centered way and make sales fun, because this is one final thing that you on your LinkedIn you say that you know something about sales humor. Do you have like
yeah.
a sales joke, or do you have what is sales humor to you?
Well,
Before we
the
wrap
funny
up.
thing about sales humor is, I mean, we speak sales humor in memes, right? Where we're like, and the humor is always very ironic, where we're like, hi, like I started in sales last week where I look like a fresh 29-year-old, and now I look like an 80-year-old a week later. Or we're like, the world is on fire, and we're like, yeah, just working on our sales goals, right? And so what's interesting about sales humor is it's all true. Like all of that stuff where you're like, the world is on fire, but I will just figure it out. You're like, oh, okay, I guess I
True.
will.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't have any good sales jokes, because the real
No, but the
sales humor
memes.
is all about the memes. Like it's all there. And then of course, the Glenn Ross, where you're like, where are the deals? Where's the leads? And it's so funny. But the issue, part of the humor is that it's also really ironic humor, where we're like, actually, we are all struggling, and we do feel stressed to the max all the time, and we laugh about it because there's not much else we can do about it. But there is things that we can do about it. We can strive for balance without appearing, that we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be machines. We are still human beings, and it's okay to need support, and it's okay. I mean, there's, in sales, there's lots of addiction issues. There's lots of, relationships that you had to compromise for the fact that you were just so committed to your job. And so I want to help change that for people, because we laugh about it in memes, but also there's a dark side, which is what makes memes so funny, because there's always a dark side to it, where you're like, oh, that's totally
That's
true.
actually
And I
true.
guess
Yeah.
maybe we should do something, right?
There's definitely always truth in jokes, and that's why we love them so much. It's because we can
Totally
relate.
true. Oh God, like, ooh,
Yeah,
totally true. But
I
yeah.
love that. I'd love to see more of those memes or jokes on your social media as well.
Okay, well,
That'd be funny.
I'm always so serious. I can definitely be funnier. Thank you for
No,
the
I'm not saying
feedback.
that. It just it would be cool to see those because you have a good sense for humor. And so
No, you gave
also,
me an amazing idea because I think, addressing the actual issues behind what makes a meme funny is, I think, an amazing social strategy for me. And you just you just gave me
yes,
that light bulb. So thank you.
nice. I'm happy for you that I got to do that. And I'm happy. Yeah. So if people are listening and they say like, oh, I really want to learn how to sell with a heart, or they want to get into development, or they would just love to connect with you, how can they best reach out to you? Where can they find you? And so we can add that to the show notes as well.
Oh, well, that would be amazing. So, like, if somebody was like, I think this is really cool and I want to help provide housing in Canada, I want to invest in things like that. There's limitations, but my website for that is www.urbanbricks, and bricks is spelled brix.ca. And that's our development company where you can see what we're up to. And then I also have my other website, which is congruentprojects.com. And in there, you could see all of the stuff that I'm working on, the books, the workshops, the online school that's coming soon, and the different consulting packages to really look at your sales environment in a different way. So if anybody was looking for me, the websites are an amazing way to find me.
Amazing. Cool. Yeah, and you have a good following on LinkedIn, so add your social media profile there as well.
Yeah, that would be
So
awesome.
that's great. So Jennifer, we're gonna wrap it up. Anything else that you would like to share before we completely close? Because I feel like could be something else, so that we're 100% sure that we gave it all.
One thing that we didn't talk about that I really that I really love to impart, and it's actually coming in a social media post, is, if no one has told you today that you are doing an amazing job, I'm not going to do it either. Because when you work in your life's work, internal validation is so important. And the person that you need to hear you're doing an amazing job is the superhero inside of you. Because as we talk in our mentoring group, that super villain is insidious. That's the voice in your head that says, you know what, you're not perfect, you're not ready, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, and all of that ridiculous nonsense. And so that internal validation, your biggest cheerleader is yourself, being like, you got this. Look how amazing you are. And so I just encourage everyone to really look inside and give yourself that validation. Like, adulting is hard. Being an adult is hard. We thought as kids, we're like, we can't wait to be adults because it's going to be a cakewalk and I can have chocolate cake for breakfast and ice cream and I can do whatever I want. Well, I mean, there's lots of amazing perks to it, but it's not as easy, I think, as we romanticized it. And so really just give yourself some love and give yourself some validation, because you should be getting it from yourself. That is the most powerful. Being able to get yourself off of that validation from others is so important, because it really helps you find your purpose. When you're validating yourself, your motivations are pure, right? So that's something from my soft skills education pieces that I'm working on. And so, as much as we're working on our energy, we're working on this, we're working on that, totally. We are hustling every single day, but make sure you're telling yourself how freaking amazing you are, because you are, as we align with our purpose and our specialness. And I mean, wow, what a beautiful day to be alive.
I agree, Jennifer. Wow. Thank you very, very much for this amazing energy that you bring to the table. I think we did an amazing job, and I'm already very excited to get you back on the show and sometime in the future to talk about updates and see how we get some projects off the ground together. So I'm already excited about that.
Yes, let's do it. Amazing.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, stay here if you want. Just
Okay.
hit pause or stop.